Welcome to Fringe Division.
Season 1 to us was very much a prologue. This is the year where our characters each grow up and develop in a way as they start to understand and take ownership of these stories.
I think they spent the last couple of months really working out heaps of fun stuff to do with the other universe and who maybe lives there.
We've been told about the present, we've been told about the dangers, we've been told about what will happen if we go to the other side, the manifesto and all that set this season up. And now it's coming to a head.
Season 1 was all about setting up, what is this pattern? Is it random events, or do these dots connect? And what we get to at the end is, no, this is a very specific sequence of events that are happening as part of a planned invasion. So Season 2 is all about trying to stop the invasion.
The key to the second season of Fringe is it all goes back to things that if you watch the pilot, you see there are hints in the pilot to some of this stuff. You know, Walter's concern for Peter. When he first sees Peter, looks in his eyes. There are certain things that we did that were hinting at where we were going. And it was important that in this second year, we wanted to make sure that the story played out primarily emotionally. So yes, it involves an alternate universe. And yes, it involves things that are just sort of classic science fiction craziness. But the only thing that mattered to us is that the story connected very much to our characters' attitudes and concerns that were sort of subtext from the very, very beginning of the show.
I think one of the things that we delight the most about in this series is we're creating a universe, or in some cases two, but we're creating a universe with our characters, and it seems that a lot of time people are interested in like answers. We're more interested in like what are the consequences of the answers.
We're booming down so that she exits, and then we cut. I think Fringe was sort of finding its way for the first 9 or 10 episodes of last year. I think it was sort of vacillating a little bit between a procedural and a more reality-based mythology show and then a kind of sci-fi fantasy mythology show. And I think it was sort of sampling various styles. I came in around episode 17 where the mythology was already really starting to hum, and it's really what attracted me to the show. And so by the time we got to the end of season 1, we pretty much had a good sense of the trajectory of Olivia's arc.
The last time you saw us, Olivia was on her way to meet with Nina, and all of a sudden she ends up meeting William Bell. I think in the last episode, on her way to meeting Nina, she kind of very narrowly swerves and misses a car. And clearly she didn't actually miss that car.
We knew we ended with Olivia and William Bell's office, and we considered for a moment just starting the season right there, but we thought it would be more interesting to show how Olivia's disappearance and reemergence in our reality affected our team. And then knowing that we were going back to that scene sort of to build it up and make people wait a little bit.
We'll see her broken down, and it's kind of frightening to see our heroine, you know, who's carried the series basically for the first year. Suddenly she can't move, she can't even load her gun.
I think it's Jeff Pinkner who described the first several episodes as the gun arc, because really, you know, the gun played out until Olivia was whole again.
I was told that you could fix me.
Her actions with the gun in all of those episodes symbolized where she was on the journey.
And it culminates in her being able to use it to kill someone who looks exactly like her best friend.
Hey, here we go.
I was so looking forward to directing 204 because it was a payoff of a full season and 3 episodes of work. You've been laying all this groundwork of information for all the characters and the backstory, and the actors love doing it because they're earned moments.
Playing the mythology, making that believable is easy because there's like a context to it, and also because the mythology kind of, I think, links into the human side and the human emotions and the relationships between the different characters.
Charlie is part of this group of shapeshifters who have been sent to lay the groundwork for the eventual invasion. And Charlie was just a foot soldier, but above him is the man that we're calling Omega Man, who is the bad guy for the first half of this season.
The objective of the shapeshifters is to open a door from our side to the other side. So it's much easier for people to travel back and forth, because what we've set up is that it's very difficult. A lot of people have died trying to do it. They're trying to find a way to open that door to allow who we assume to be soldiers from their side to come over on our side and do what they need to do. Probably the biggest thing we finally pay off is what William Bell told Olivia and why she's so important to the survival of mankind.
It is so nice to finally see you again. War is coming. Just as we predicted, Walter and I, and we knew that we had to prepare a guardian between this side and yours.
Me.
You are the one, Olivia. Of all the children that Walter and I prepared, you were the strongest.
One of the things that Walter and William did, they took a lot of drugs and they thought, well, if we can imagine an alternate universe, it's possible that there is one. So let's figure it out. And they tried several different things to figure it out. One was give cortexiphan to kids because kids' minds may be expansive in ways that ours have been limited, have learned not to see, which is unfortunate.
Jacksonville, by and large, the fringe event is Olivia. Olivia realizing that even in chasing all of these fringe events, she is the biggest fringe event of them all.
Her powers, whatever they may be, that sort of comes and goes. That's sort of the bit that you have to get used to, I think, because you'd like to keep tracking it, but, you know, the mythology comes, it's always there, but it does sort of come in and out.
It's okay. It's all right, Olive. These are now tough relationships. Olivia finds out what's been happening to the children, and she is very unimpressed.
This was the first time you saw the other side. Started a fire with your mind.
You abused us, Walter. Me and those other children.
No, we were trying to help you. We were trying to make you more than you were.
As much as he would, in a certain frame of mind, justify them, they're still horrific acts. So Walter's been disinvested of some of his charmingness. What we've done this season is take away the cute old man. So the challenge is for the other characters to stay with him, for the audience to keep liking Walter enough, and Walter to keep liking himself enough.
There was one episode, August, which was all about the observers, that I feel like was mythology without being mythology. And somehow in working that episode, we sort of found a new creative vein. And it's not that that episode was necessarily so related to everything else we did, but I feel like it sort of opened us up in terms of how we were thinking about the year.
Who are these people?
We played with the notion before that Walter obviously has some kind of relationship with September. And in August, Walter, seeing the observers here, gets really nervous. And there seems to be some underlying sense of dread that he has a bill to pay, basically.
Please don't take my son. Your friend and I had a deal. We had an arrangement.
If these two dimensions are pitched against each other in some looming conflict, then the observers are some other faction outside of that. We never really get into the idea of what their origins are. They sort of stand outside of time and are able to travel back and forth. They have some sort of code that's supposed to keep them at arm's length from changing the course of either of the dimensions' histories, but they did that with Peter when he was a boy. And we show, obviously, that they have a vested interest not only in the Bishop family, but in events in general.
We are so close. I can't let these guys get away again. They have the answers. I know they do.
Don't worry, son. You'll get your answer.
Walter's crazy. He's not a perfectly healed, whole man. He's sort of like takes bits of information and processes them through his fractured brain.
Grey Matters was a very important episode for Walter because it helped to explain to some degree his apparent behaviour, his eccentricity, his obsessiveness, his forgetfulness, because we found out that he'd had certain memory parts of his brain removed.
You do know where you are, don't you? Of course I do. How are things on your side?
Worse, I'm told.
I play Thomas Jerome Newton, who's otherwise known as the Omega Man. Previously, I'd heard about the Omega Man. There's a movie called The Omega Man, you know, with Charlton Heston. He's the last man on Earth. But he's a permanent question mark, it seems, because you don't really know his past, his future. He's kind of a human construct. But there is a sense that he forms a certain relationship with Walter Bishop. There's a somewhat human part of him that wants to know more, that seems to want to understand these people.
Are you trying to fix me?
I'm afraid not.
In this moment, not only when we find out that part of the reason that Walter is not able to function as a whole human being is because he literally is not a whole human being, but, you know, he's also put into this moral jeopardy, and you get to really see in action, for the first time, how much Peter cares, like how deeply invested he is in his father's well-being.
It always seemed evident to me that Peter was like he was just like this caged lion. Didn't want to be there, had to be there, was blackmailed into it. We had hints that he was sort of had an undercover life and he was a bit of a bad boy. But as he's become closer to and more involved with and become more attached to his father in some ways, now we're starting to see the true stripes of this man.
You know, if you took somebody and you showed them that the Wizard of Oz exists, he's your father, And he took you behind the curtain. He sort of peeled back reality and said, come with me and I'll show you how the universe works. Would you turn around and walk away? Of course not.
For us, we knew that that's where the real stuff was that relationship between Peter and Walter, and spending the whole season sort of, bringing them closer together while the audience, we wanted to let the audience in on the secret right away. So we started to play that on a psychological level with the audience, like, he's going to find out. They're getting closer. So at the same time, as soon as you start to fall in love with them as a father and son relationship, you know that it's going to be ripped apart. You just don't know when.